Okay, so um, I'm coming to you today in small mode, as you can see. I'm kind of getting used to where I'm currently sitting at because I've had to adjust a little bit. As far as just looks kind of weird where I'm sitting. Actually, I guess it's just the way the angle of the camera is. It should be angled this way, but anyway, um, that's not the important part. The important part is that I wanted to kind of go through an idea I had. I've had the idea in the back of my head for a little bit now, but now that I've done some research a little bit, I want to kind of show what I'm thinking about for a potential secondary league for us from Madden. Now, obviously, this is this is something I'm only going to really endeavor upon if there's a lot of interest. So if there's only like 5 or 6 guys interested in this, I'm not doing it. But if we have at least, say, half of our league right now, so 16 out of 31, if at least half of them show some interest in it, I think we might try and put some legs on this. But you may be able to tell. I don't know how much you can see behind my big head while I'm in the way. I guess I could take myself out of the way temporarily. So let's go away me. So you can see, you might see a picture of Phillip Rivers right there, and you might be going, Phillip Rivers? What in the world is Phillip Rivers doing in Madden 25? Well, he is currently in Madden 25 because I am currently using a roster put forth by the community. It is put forth by one of the guys from the PC version of this. Now, as I'm flipping through this roster, I will say that some of this roster is a little bit off because I have advanced a couple of weeks to just basically get it to a point where I can show some other things that involve this idea. But as you can see, we have quite a few guys, at least some guys that you probably haven't heard of in a while. Some guys like Ted Ginn Jr. maybe. This guy Drew Brees at quarterback. Like I said, this is a 2018. This is Madden 2018's final roster update, is what I have access to, and what that means is that we can go back in time. And the nice thing about this is that we do have, in most cases, we have decent images, but Drew Brees is not one of them, unfortunately. So Drew Brees is not face scanned in the game, but most guys are face scanned in the game that are big names, and at least their pictures are represented here. And the thought process behind this was to do a rewind sort of franchise, to do something that would be a little different, that would be in our wheelhouse now that the PC guys are able to do content for current gen console. Well, I should say current. I should say next gen, quote unquote. It's current gen at this point. I mean, PS4 and that system is, those are passe now. They're last gen, even though they're still technically considered this gen and next gen. Next gen is current gen, but that's another argument for another thing, and I'm sidetracked a little bit. The big thing is with the PC community, obviously they can do things with roster editing and creation that we on the console can't do. One of those things being dig through Madden assets and find some of these things like your images for guys like Ted Ginn Jr. I wonder if Ted Ginn looks like Ted Ginn. Let me see if Ted Ginn looks like Ted Ginn. Actually, it's not bad. I mean, that might be a face scan, but the point is that I think this could potentially be a fun thing for WFL to do, as far as, you know, having something secondary that would be a rewind into the past. And the reason I wasn't really keen on it at first, I liked the idea and the concept, but the thing I was most concerned about were draft classes. Because I felt like without the real draft classes, I felt like it wouldn't really have that immersion factor. Well, I did some digging just this morning, and while it is not perfect, actually I'm going to have to advance another week to get my darn scouting back up. Poopy. I'll advance real quick while I'm talking. The big thing with this is that someone has taken the time to do, and it's not finished. All the ones I downloaded were works in progress, so to speak. But one thing I wanted to show is you can see, hopefully if you see on screen, we have Baker Mayfield right there. You got Saquon Barkley, you've got Sam Darnold, you've got Denzel Ward, you've got Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson, and I'm flipping through these just to kind of show you what all is involved with these guys. The big thing about this is you can see face scans are in there, and because this is just a goof around portion, I'll go in and just show, like, I'll pull up Sam Darnold, for instance. Most guys that are in the game do have their face scans. So when we draft these players, we'd have their actual face scans. We'd also have their correct ages as of the time of getting drafted. So I thought, hey, so this is the 2018 draft class. So essentially this is the first draft class that comes in after the roster I currently have up here. After it kind of shows up, that's what comes out essentially is this Baker Mayfield draft. So I thought it would be fun, but this is only 1 year. So it was one of those things. It's like, well, if it's only 1 year, I mean, how good could it really be? So that's kind of the question that I feel like would probably be the ask. And that's another reason why, even if it was just 1 year worth of draft classes, it wouldn't be worth it in my opinion. But I want to show you my roster file or my file downloads area real quick. So let's go in here, Creation Center. Let's go to load and delete files. So here we go. This is the big thing I wanted to show off, and this is the reason why I thought it would be a good idea. So 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. I will state for the record, these are all done by the same user. And I know looking at the one we just looked at, this user must be a PC user because they're accessing assets that we can't do on console. Because if I did this type of roster edit on console, I would have to use generic face scans. It would be generic players up there. So you wouldn't have the level of detail that we do with most of the known quantities in those drafts. But my thought process is, and I've obviously loaded up the 2018 to show you in my franchise, but I did load up the 2019, and most of their face scans are the same, are in there. I will say that not all players are in there as far as loaded up. You can go through, in fact, I'll actually show you on the draft class I currently have loaded up on this test franchise, so to speak, just to gauge interest with this more than anything. And this is an offline one, so it doesn't really matter. But the big thing I want to talk about with this is this something that you guys would be interested in doing, going back and potentially reliving from the 2017 season, 2017-18 season onward? Now, I will state there will need to be some work done around the contracts. So contracts would need to be tweaked a little bit. Everybody would probably have a lot of cap space because there's no way for me in the current setup. There's no way for me to get in there and actually fix the cap based on 2017 ratings. Maybe if a PC user loaded this up, they could, but I'm not a PC user, so therefore we wouldn't be able to do that. So we'd have a lot of cap room year one, but I wanted to show you this. Like, if I get down to like Kyle Lauletta, you see he's not available for a school, but his picture's there. And then like Tanner Lee, Luke Falk, these are guys that are legitimately quarterbacks. I recognize the name Luke Falk for sure. He went to Washington State, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you can flip through, and guys that he didn't mess with are guys that currently, like, that's one that he messed with, but there's no actual scan, so he's got just the generated player. But I thought this might be a fun thing to do because I do have draft classes that are pretty much, I'd say about 75% complete. It looked like, at least the 2 or 3 that I looked at look about 70% complete. And I'm flipping through this one just to kind of show you what all is there and available, so you can kind of gauge that as you will. Kalen Balaj, that's a big miss. That's not his size and speed. So some of these are not 100% done. These are ones that I could potentially go in and fix to a certain extent. That would really make Ross mad. Bo Scarborough, that's a Alabama boy. But like most of these are in there, so it wouldn't be much for us as a group to go in and edit these things, or me edit these things and load them up. So it's not a huge deal. But I think the big thing is, would there be interest in this? Because I, for one, would have interest in doing this. Maybe not, if we don't do it as a group, then as an offline franchise, this potentially could be something I could actually do some videos on and just kind of goof around with. But like I said, a couple things that I will note. Obviously, the cap is going to be an issue just because the cap is a lot higher in 2024 than it was in 2017. So there will be that we'll have to contend with. Another thing I thought about for this secondary league would be having abilities on. And actually, because I'm pretty sure, I haven't 100% looked at this roster in a franchise setting, but for example, Drew Brees probably is better than star development at this stage of his career. No, 38 years old, actually, he might just be star dev. If I'm going to be honest with myself and hurt my whole soul, I think he maybe superstar, maybe. But go through players, see what their abilities are, get abilities that would be fair and balanced to be usable, even X factors, fair and balanced to be usable in a setting in an online league. We do have some precedent from when we tried to start up a league last Madden cycle with XFL. We do have some rules around abilities that we could pull in for this league. And we have 7 years worth of draft classes that we could utilize as part of this. But it would depend, honestly, entirely on interest in the league. Would guys have interest in this? For example, let's see. Let's go with the Colts. There's Andrew Luck. So he's 5 years in. He's basically just about retired at this point, I believe. Jacoby Brissett, that's a super high rating for Jacoby Brissett, but I think this is the year. I'm almost positive this is the year Andrew Luck got hurt and was out the whole year. That's why he's rated low. But things like that. I will state, if I can find one, I would actually do a team builder load up and put the Redskins back in, because that's who was here in 2017-18. So again, that full-fledged rewind back to the past type thing would be in full effect. So this I'd probably also try, if I can, I don't know if this is possible, but see if it's possible to move the Chargers back to San Diego, make them the San Diego Chargers. See if there's a way I can team build the Chargers in there as San Diego, so that way there wouldn't be much change there. Not many huge changes. Maybe even move the Raiders back from Las Vegas back to Oakland or Los Angeles. I can't remember where they were. It's so hard to tell where they were in 2017. I don't remember where they were, but those types of things, rewind the league back to 2017 and then start, and then make sure all these cap penalties and everything and contracts are accurate for that time frame. And then just kind of do a playthrough and see what would happen, and kind of do an alternate universe and see if Josh Allen and see in this one, just to go to the Chiefs real quick. And this one, Patrick Mahomes is actually, that's still a pretty damn good rating, 82 overall. But in this universe, he's not the Patrick Mahomes we know in 2024. So does he actually get there? Or do they stick with Alex Smith a little bit longer and not jettison him out to the great beyond? I think it'd be fun what ifs and things to do. Again though, wouldn't partake in any of this if you guys didn't have any interest in it. So this is where I'm going to put this recording out there, and I'm going to actually I'm polling the league as a whole. Is this something you would have interest in? Would you have interest in having abilities on, which I think would make it different from WFL, which is why I'm kind of angling towards it, even though I'm not a fan of it in WFL. I know there are some guys, as I'm watching my Saints score a touchdown on the NFL game right now. I'm recording this during the Saints game. You should know how dedicated I am for that. But I think as a whole, I think the league could enjoy this, I think. Especially a lot of us are older. We kind of have that what ifs and go back and look at things. I think it would be an interesting thing, but again, is this something you think we should pursue as a league? Because if there's a bunch of people, like I said, if there's about half the league at least that would be interested in this, I definitely would be down to going in and making sure that the contracts are okay, that the draft classes, at least, you know, the first 2 or 3 years worth, are accurate from a standpoint of the class, like the size of the player and the school they went to. I wouldn't do much with ratings on those draft classes, especially for the current crop, like the crop we all know. Wouldn't touch those. Probably wouldn't touch the ratings of the guys that are down there as well, unless it was something where, you know, I felt like we needed to edit them up a little bit to make it balanced. But I would do this well before the franchise file would launch, so that way by the time we get to those draft classes, I honestly wouldn't remember, just like you guys. And the nice thing with using current draft classes, especially if they're fairly accurate, is that we know who Baker Mayfield is, for example. We know who Josh Allen is. We know who Sam Darnold is. You know, we can try and maybe do alternate universes where Sam Darnold, instead of having a renaissance in 2024 like he's having with the Vikings, maybe he's just good from the get-go with whatever team drafts him, whether it's the Jets again, whether it's somebody else, you know, so on and so forth. But again, this would not be something that I would do unless you guys wanted to. Obviously, I kind of have interest in it from a standpoint of I may even consider playing offline, which I've never said about Madden, but this kind of intrigues me from that standpoint. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is something that would be an interest to you? Another thing I thought about was kind of maybe decreeing that well, it'd be a full team draft, so that way maybe guys that don't have their favorite team in WFL could get their favorite team in this league, whatever it's called, for example, to build up from there. Now, obviously, again, like I said, this is going to be entirely up to you guys, and if you'd have interest in it, if you'd support it. If you wouldn't support it or don't have interest in it or don't have time for it, I get it. That's fine. But it is something that I wanted to put on the radar of guys and see where you might be at from that standpoint and see if that's something you might enjoy. If it is, please let me know via DM or just let me know in chat, preferably in DM so I can kind of keep a running tally of logs. I'll probably also throw a poll up at some point in the next 24 hours or so to kind of gauge league interest in this as well, to see if you guys watch this video or if it, you know, and see if it's something you might be interested in. And then if there is a lot of interest, then I might just start packing away some stuff and building a little channel or two to kind of build this out to get it going fairly quickly, because obviously we'd have to use Madden 25 since that's where these rosters are. And the faster we could get it out, the faster we could get some games in the cycle. So again, if this is something you're interested in, let me know either through the poll or through DM or both. If it's something you have zero interest in, that's okay too. If you just don't have time for it, that's okay too. It's gonna take, like I said, at least half the league interest and then some to warrant getting this going. But if you guys are interested, let me know. And thanks for your time as always, guys. And we'll catch you next time.